Hello viewers. Welcome to my Doctor Who themed YouTube channel, Who Ventures. And yes, as you might have guessed, I've just watched the finale of Series 10. It is the second to last episode of the Capaldi era. And we had to say goodbye to Sid Master and Missy. Doctor Who, Series 10, Episode 12, The Doctor Falls. These are my notes. Can you see that? I don't know. So if you want to read them, you can. And I'm trying to do subtitles for videos, but it's really difficult because I have short-term memory problems with it, and I find it tricky to type them out too because the subtitle instructions on YouTube are really vague. It just says type everything you say in this box, and it doesn't ask you, it doesn't tell you whether to do it in paragraphs or sentences with a space in, whether we need to add punctuation, and then it says, if I'll load it up now and it'll line up the subtitles with your voice. Is that, but how does it do that? And if I write instead of well, how does it know? How does it know how to do it? So unless YouTube bring up the so you can look at the closed captions, automatically generated captions on your video, and just correct it frame by frame, then that would be the easiest way to do subtitles for me. But until then, it might be a bit difficult to do the subtitles, and I'm not sure, and I know I should maybe ask somebody else to do it, but I get scared people will put things, say I've said things when they haven't. That's why I'm scared about getting somebody to translate it, because I only really know English properly. So I'd have to make sure people have expressly got what I actually wanted to say and got it all grammatically correct. Because sometimes what you say in English isn't really how it comes out in another language, and they don't really speak in full sentences confidently like other YouTubers do. But I'll try my best like this to show you some bits you can perhaps freeze frame and read. I need a load of chocolate, and it's lucky because I've got a massive bar of chocolate in my fridge. It's got peanuts in it. So those are my notes, and I'll talk through them now. So at the start, the ident bit was cool because on the BBC, I don't know if BBC America will get this bit, but it went fuzzy, and we got the ident of the girl writing on the blackboard with the clown, and that is I don't know what the terms are, but in the olden days on TV, like in the 70s and 80s, they put a screensaver on at night time, and it's something to do with the checking the colours and the tones on the TVs. So there's a picture, and it's of a girl with a blackboard, and there's a clown, and she's a total icon to a lot of us because she was a TV icon for most of our childhoods. So I thought that was brilliant because the TV went fuzzy and it showed that, and the announcer announcing that Dr. Who started got upgraded by a Cyberman, which was really funny. So I liked how they did. Sorry, I've gone all croaky. So I liked how they did that, and then we got the previously on recap, which showed you what happened in the world in Orphan Time. And then the episode starts, and it's all hills and countryside, and I really enjoyed the horses. There's two cob horses. Don't know if they were Shire horses, but they were definitely sort of cob horses. And they was horses and really cute. And the horses were, and it was like countryside in the olden days. And the horses were bringing these children, and this place was like an orphanage. But these people at the orphanage and the children, they don't realise that they're on a spaceship. They just think they're in the countryside, and they think having a number in the sky is just perfectly normal because it's just what they've always known. So, and then the scarecrows are actually the top-notch Cybermen, and every now and then they come off their stands. They're sort of like crucified, which is a bit grim, but every now and then they climb off and start walking towards the orphanage, and I think it's just so grim that they put these suffering patients up on crosses as scarecrows. That's just really grim, because these people are partly converted in incredible pain, and they're just being used as scarecrows. How horrible to be a human, and we find this out even more later on, and just been strung up as a scarecrow. It's really bad, that. So when these top-notch patients, they get off their frames and as scarecrows, when they start approaching, and then it's like an alarm for the little kids, and said the scarecrows are coming, and they get under the beds and hide, and the carers looking after them get their farmers' shotguns and shoot the scarecrows. And this is just a normal happening for these kids. And then there's a little girl called Alit, and she looks a lot like Bill. The ground starts breaking and the floor and the lawn starts breaking, and then this rocket ship comes through and sort of comes through the floor, and it sort of crash lands. Did it come through the floor or through the sky? Either way, it came through, and then it flew, and then it sort of landed. And there was a Cyberman carrying the Doctor, and it turns out that's Cyber Bill. So then we have the titles, but John Sim and Michelle Gomez don't even get a credit. I was really pissed off that they didn't get a credit in the opening titles. And I thought they were amazing, this episode. Michelle Gomez and John Sim are amazing. So the Masters, we find out what happened 2 weeks ago, because it's 2 weeks since it happened. So the Master's asking, how many times have you died, Doctor? And this has been really horrible with Sim Master. And then they're saying, any requests, Doctor, for how they should do him in? And then they start beating up the Doctor, and Nardole gets scared and runs off. And then a little bit later on, the Masters are ballroom dancing and flirting with each other. And the Doctor says, Joe too wants to be alone. And then the Sim Master's saying, yeah, go old school, and you're doing that. See, I thought that was a good nod to the previous Masters. I love the beard stick. And I think Sim's Master looks incredibly hot with the beard. And it's a shame he couldn't have been on the show more with that beard, because he looked gorgeous. And then the Masters, the Doctor saying, where's Bill? And the Masters say, she's behind you. And Bill's the Cyberman. And then, so this Master, he went into Gallifrey with Rassilon, and then they kicked him straight out of Gallifrey. So you should have a t-shirt saying straight out of Gallifrey. That would be funny. And then the Doctor saying, oh, to Sim Master, oh, with your stupid round face. And then Sim Master says, round, and he's really offended. I thought it was funny. And then the city turns people into Cybermen, and while they were beating up the Doctor, he did a trick, and he changed the setting on the computer from sensing one-hearted people as humans, and he changed it to include two-hearted people as humans too. So other Cybermen are coming to get the Masters and the Doctor, and he did a lot of Uber typing. And so the Sim Master's like, what are we going to do, Doctor, to help us? And then Misty's she's in two minds about being good or bad and feels dizzy. And then Nardole appears with his shuttle in a very dramatic fashion. It was really fun. And Missy hit the Sim Master and says, oh, I still feel the lump. So it's like she hit the Sim Master and she sort of felt it, I don't know. And then Cyber Bill is helping the Doctor. So we get back to the countryside, and it's the solar farms in the countryside. And Nardole's little shuttle is broke, so that's as far up the floor as he could get it. So Nardole says, hello little girl, and he's really sweet. And then Hasran's offering blankets to Bill, and it was really horrible, because And then she's saying to Bill, because we see it as Pearl, and we see Pearl thinking she just looks like Bill and thinking she's human, so they show Bill as human. And Aslan's telling Bill the doctor's explained your injuries, and then a little girl comes to talk to Bill, and she gives her a mirror, and then she like backs away. And then we see Bill as still as a Cyberman, and it's really Pearl did really good acting in this episode. I thought it was the best acting she'd done for the series, and it would have been good if they'd got 2 series with Nardole and Bill, because that would have sort of built it up even more. And with the ending, it would have been even better if they'd had 1 series where they built up her relationship with Heather, so the ending has a bit more impact. And then it's really sad because she's a Cyberman and no one wants to go near her because they're scared of her. But Bill her mind has made it so she just sees herself as human. So, and then the doctor saying that her mind's so strong, she rejected the idea that she's a Cyberman. So that was like when Oswin Oswald, she just thought she was a human in a spaceship because it refused to accept she was a Dalek. And then Bill was saying, Bill was just shouting at him, but we saw Pearl shouting at him and saying, and then she got really angry, and then she accidentally exploded the barn wall. Then Nada was so great with it. He was saying, "Oh, somebody's broke the barn, it's okay, everything's normal." So I thought, oh, he's great, that. And then the doctor was touching Bill's face and he felt a tear on Bill's mask. And that meant that her emotions were still there and they hadn't converted away her emotions. And then Sam has been incredibly rude about it, Sim Master, but it was pretty hilarious. It said Robo Mop and I thought really bad jokes. And then Sim says, Sim Master, because he knows he's going to turn to Messi, says, "So, any tips about being a woman? We got any old bras?" So he's just so bad. He's just basically one of the really sexist people. One of the really sexist Doctor Who people. I think it was a comment on all the comments saying, "Oh, there can't be a female Doctor." Oh, it totally got back at him. But then he sort of ruined it near the end. So, and then we found out that the Cybermen prefer converting children because there's less of the humanness to throw away. Then the doctor started his regeneration and he's in pain, but he's trying to stop it because he doesn't want to change anymore. And then Bill's saying that she doesn't want to live if she just can't be Bill, and the doctor says there are always possibilities, and the doctor has to admit she doesn't know how to fix it. But the doctor says where there's tears, there's hope. So the Sim Master's with Messi, and Messi saying maybe we should help the doctor, and Sim Master's, "Oh, you're a woman now, have you got empathy?" And I don't know, Moffat comments against sexism, but then he is sexist himself, which I don't really understand. Then Messi calls the lift because she thought maybe they can get in the lift or something, but she don't realise that this is going to bring the other more evolved Cybermen up. And then Bill, Cyber Bill, and there's Missy, and the master says, "Oh, is the future going to be all girl?" So that's another snarky comment on the sexist people. And then Bill Cyber, she uses her anger to fight the other more evolved Cybermen, because further up the ship, the more evolved the Cybermen are. So the Cybermen are like rocket Cybermen, and a lot of people who saw the preview pictures of that thought, oh. I don't know, it was kind of cheesy. See the Cybermen flying through the floors and they're coming, and then Nardole is really sarcastic and funny. And then Nardole, to show that the countryside is actually a spaceship, he gets Hazran to pass him one of the farmer rifles, and he shoots the windmill, and because he's a spaceship and he's shot wiring, it blows up. So then he has to explain that they're not in the countryside, they're in the spaceship. But Hazran didn't really understand, because she's lived all her life thinking it's a countryside. So she's like in the olden days, so she wouldn't understand what any new technology is. So then we got to the master, and he's putting on eyeliner. Oh, I thought that was fun. He looks hot in eyeliner. He should have discovered eyeliner ages ago. So, and then Bill is using her anger to fight the Cyberman. And then there was a bit where the doctor's talking to Alec, and he's got some of the kids' toys set out, and he tells Alec, "You're going to put fear back into the Cyberman," and then he swipes the toys away. And that bit didn't really go anywhere. He had these toys set up and then fear into the Cyberman, and it didn't really work, because they weren't scared at all, so I don't know what happened with that plan. He said Alec's going to put fear in the Cyberman. Well, she didn't, she just blew some up. So it didn't work. So maybe... And then with Nardole, Hazran is asking about Nardole's background, and he says, "Well, I was sort of found," and Hazran said, "on a doorstep," and then Nardole says, "I have to tell you, I'm not exactly human," and then Hazran says, "Oh, I'll try anything once." I thought that was quite funny. And then Hazran shot Bill out of fright, and that was all heartbreaking, because Nardole said, "No, stop it, that's Bill." And then the other Cybermen arrived. And it was 10 minutes before the Cybers attack, so they had to get ready. So the doctor has got an apple, which is really part of his spaceship. I didn't really understand that bit. So anything that's part of a spaceship automatically explodes if you shoot it, apparently, in the universe land. I'm not sure that's true, really. And then so he uses humanity's first weapon, the apple. That. So I don't know with Veggie's first weapon, the apple. Veggie's first weapon would be the book that said the apple is the first weapon. Not necessarily. So I don't get the apple knowledge. Well, it's not really, though, because the humans, they were tempted by the apple, but they didn't put that apple down there. I didn't really get that bit. That could have been cut out. Didn't make sense. So Alec throws the apple and then Nardole shoots it and the Cybermen blow up. And then Sim Master's going to his to Missy and said, "Come on, Lady Ration." And the Doctor comes along and he has it out with the Masters and he does an amazing speech. He says, "I do all this 'cause it's kind." And yeah, it might not work, but if it's the best I can do, so I'm going to do it. I thought that was a good message. Say, always do your best to be kind and try that. And even if it isn't a big, massive thing, whatever, however big or small you do, if it's of kindness, then that's amazing. So I thought that was a good message. But Sim Master refused to listen, and then Missy was stand with me. Then the Doctor said to Missy, "Stand with me, it's all I've ever wanted." And Missy says, "Me too, but no, thanks for trying." She refuses because she's silly. And then Alec chucked it up, did the apple thing, and then Missy is in the forest, and Nardole's explaining how he uses his computer skills to save the day. And then there's a really bad joke with the ultimate apple upgrade. It's like, oh, that could have been cut out. That was a bit of a bad joke. The Cybermen will regroup and assume they're in an army. They're attacking an army now because I don't really understand, and apparently that means they'll stop tracking their children. I don't really get the reasoning why. That wasn't really explained. Then Doctor tells Nardole to work on the farm and sending Nardole to look after the humans, and Nardole's kind of prejudiced against the humans, but I don't know if that's because he thinks he's rubbish with humans, but he's so perfect with humans, he's so lovely. And then I like that bit, Nardole put more than 3 people in a room and start a black market. I thought that was hilarious. And then Nardole says, "I'm going to name a town after you, Doctor." And there's a Amelia Pig. And then Bill says he's going to work with the Doctor, and Nardole it's like, why does she get to blow up? Because Nardole wants to be the computer genius and be like, sacrifice himself, which is kind of odd, weird that he'd want to do that, but that's where his head does that. But the Doctor trusts him to be able to look after the humans, and he is good at looking after the humans. And the Nardole says, "I'll never be able to find the words to describe all about the Doctor." And then I thought, oh, but Nardy, you already have the words, you're so lovely. And then Missy's in the forest with Sim Master. Sim Master's going off to go get his TARDIS back so he can escape. I didn't really understand, to be honest, because his dematerialization circuit broke. So Missy gave him his dematerialization spare so he could escape. And I don't really know why she chose those particular timings to give the spare. So, and then just that a really scary woman told me that always carry a spare dematerialization circuit. So she is the scary woman who gave him the circuit.
and they're in the forest, and Sim Master's about to go off, and Missy says, "Come here," and Sim Master says, "Are we really going to do this?" And then Missy says a parallel to what the 10th Doctor said to Davison in Time Crash, and she says, "I loved being you." It's like, oh, Sim. Because she's like, she stabbed him in the hand, and that apparently is going to cause his regeneration. I didn't really understand what she'd done to him. He's a Time Lord, she just stabbed him in the hand. Any human could fix being punched in a hand, can't they? It doesn't that. So I didn't really understand how she'd done that, or what she'd done then. So he might still be fine. I didn't really understand how that started his regen, unless she got some regen energy off the Doctor, and it went in her hand, and then I don't know. I just don't know that bit. I don't get that bit. And then the Sim Master, that was really nicely done. Then it turns out Missy's got the Sim Master duffed him in, so he has to regenerate into her. And then Sim Master, he kills Missy, because Missy's saying actually it is time to stand with the Doctor. Missy's choosing to be good, but Sim Master kills her and shoots her in the back, and the Master saying, "This is just us, we just shoot ourselves in the back." And it is, because when you was on Gallifrey, when you was with the Doctor when you was younger, you could have just got married to him and have had a lovely time, but you ruined it for yourself. And then there was and then Bill, because she thought that she was going to go into battle against the Cyberman, and she starts to say goodbye to the Doctor, and Bill said, "Can you think of anything to say?" And Bill's saying, "No," and they can't think of anything. Then Bill turns around and says, "You know, I always say I'm gay and I fancy women. I'm usually gay." Then she smiles at the Doctor, and he's like, "Don't think he gets it at all." And that is cheap way of Moffat saying, "I'm usually gay, but he basically did the shit Irene Adler crap of, "I'm usually gay, but I fancy you because you're the Doctor and you're amazing," which that should have been cut out too. That was awful, Stephen Moffat. Why did you do that bit? You already know how offensive that was in Sherlock, yet you repeated it in Doctor Who, and that was just really shit. You could have had her just say anything else other than that crap. I don't know what's up with you, Moffat. Why do you ruin things like that? And then, the Doctor's, I loved it, jumping about, mentioning all the times he's seen the Cybermen and all the times they've been defeated. Oh, that's quite sweet. And then the Cybermen shot the Doctor, and there's a regen in his hand, and it's starting, and the Doctor's saying, "Let it go, time enough," and he just wants to die. And I think that was a nod to that fact that he likes Fusion. And then it closes his eyes, and it says, "Where's the stars? I hope there be stars." But I assume that's only because he's really TARDIS was really just making him want to trying to make him regenerate, and that you do really get the stars. And it's not fair. And then there's a really sweet bit with Neldor on one of the farms with two of the kids, and the kids say, you know what, has fun likes you, and Neldor saying, she's only human. It's like, oh, naughty. And then Cyber Bill finds the Doctor lying on the forest and she's crying. And then, a lot of people predicted that Heather would come back. So the Heather puddle comes back, and then Heather comes out of the puddle, and we get to have Pearl in that. Bill and Heather, we see them kissing because somehow Bill's got out of the cyber suit, because it's something to do with Heather's tears at the pilot. They went on Bill, and it was like a tracking device, and then that somehow got Bill out of the cyber suit. It was a bit airy-fairy magicalness, which didn't really make sense. It was more fantasy, that bit. So Heather and Bill get the Doctor back to the TARDIS, so that was good. And then Heather's saying, you can come with me, Bill, or you could stay at home and eat chips. And that's a bit like Eccleston is saying to call to Rose to fight, like you can see the stars, you just call it when Eccleston asked Rose to join him in the TARDIS, and it says you can spend your life on Earth eating chips, or you can come with me. So Bill says that Heather can show Bill the universe, and then it's where there's tears, there's hope, because Bill cries on the Doctor's forehead, and there's a tear from Bill on his forehead. She goes to wipe it off, but then she thinks, and then she says, and she doesn't, and then where there's tears, there's hope. And then we see this tear sort of burning into the Doctor's head, and we see all of his companions from New Who, and Rose, I saw my Rose, and we saw Clara, and we saw the men all there, and they all said Doctor, and there's remembering all his friends, and Captain Jack, and everybody, and he was like starting regenerating, but then you said, it's like, no, it's like, stopped his regen like that, and he said, I don't want to change again, I don't want to be somebody else, I don't want to change again, and it's like really sad. And then it was the cloister bell, cause that, I don't really but know the 100% about the cloister bell, but it rings when there's another Doctor, apparently. And then the Doctor was sat in the stool and regenerating, and said, no, I don't want to. And then we see David Bradley as Harnell, and he's like, it says regeneration time, says, no, I don't want to change. And it's that I'm not changing, and they both don't want to change. And then he says, Doctor, no, I'm the Doctor, the original, you might say. And I think in the Christmas special, the Christmas special apparently is going to be like It's a Wonderful Life, but they're both each other's Clarences, and they both save each other to be able to cope with this change, and it must be really stressful, because there's a bit where the doctor says some of the other doctor's lines when just before they regenerated up. And it must be really horrible to be this fearless person and then just not be that person ever again, but still be that person. And the fact that his dysphoria of letting go of a certain type of him, but knowing that you're still him, and that he still hasn't had the sort of therapy of knowing himself and knowing that all of them are part of him and that they are all him, and he doesn't have to let go of the different hymns because they're all loving and inside him. And I don't know why. Seriously, Gallifrey, Rassilon, you think you'd give the Gallifreyan kids therapy? They need some psychologists on Gallifrey. You need to give them all a therapy. So, Gallifreyans, you go to I assume they go to like the mini academy before they go to big academy school. Instead of giving them therapy about the fact that they can regenerate and there'll be changes about them and things will change, but it's okay, they make them look in the vortex, say, here's the vortex, all of time and space, whoa, and traumatise the kids. Some run away, some go mad. That is bad teaching. That is bad teaching and bad parenting. It's like, do they even give permission slips? We would like give this to your parents and they'll say they can sign it to give permission slips for you to look in the vortex. And if I was a Gallifreyan and had to fill a permission and slip for a kid to look in the vortex and say, back off. No, you're not traumatising them. You've got to teach them about change and growth and stability. Why would you traumatise them and make them look at the vortex? Come here, my baby. Dad. So, yeah, and they should all have cats on Gallifrey. Not cat people, but actual cats. So they can cuddle them, because I'm going to get mine now because he's just walked in. Come and say hello, baby. Hello. As usual, when I got the camera on, he's quiet. You've been talking a lot today, haven't you, babe? You've had a good brush. Okay, you don't want to talk about Doctor Who then? So, yeah, that is my thoughts of the episode. So now we've got a big gap till Christmas, and then I'm going to be crying even more at Christmas. It's going to be going to need to plan to have lots of Christmas cake and lots of yummy stuff to eat at Christmas, because I'm going to be crying a lot. So we've got the big gap now to Christmas. What kind of things are gonna try
my best to do more reviews of like classic episodes, and I've got all the Lucy Miller and Eighth Doctor audios, so I'm gonna try to get them listened to and reviewed. I don't know how my reviews will work with that, because obviously have to listen really closely, so I don't know if I'll be able to make particularly detailed notes, because when you're watching it on the screen and making notes, it's a bit easier. I want to get some more action figures, get some more Doctor Who action figures, because I used to have loads, but then I sort of had to, I thought, because one part of me is like, oh, let's have a clear out, let's chuck everything, oh, we don't need this, we don't need that, because when I get bossed about that I need to get rid of stuff about my flat, sometimes I go into really, I don't need that, I hate that, I don't want that. And I did actually really want something, but I chucked it out because it's like a target of having a tidy house. So I want to get some of the action figures. Lots to talk about on Galley B. And I think I need to eat some comfort food now. I wish my cat would talk when my camera's on. It's annoying because when I'm uploading the videos, he comes and says hello and starts talking. It's like, you could have said earlier. So I hope everybody is doing okay. My laptop's casting a shadow on my face the whole time. To let my top, it's rainbow. So a message to Peter Capaldi. You are brilliant. You are fantastic. And don't ever be sad, because you're always the Doctor. And you're always really cool. And so we've got to wait till Christmas now. And then thank you to Michelle Gomez. You've been amazing. And I hope there's more Missy stories, and I hope there get to be more. I just hope there's more Missy and Sim Master stuff. And Matt Lucas, you've been fantastic. I've loved every minute of your Matt. I would like a spin-off of Nardol's Guide to the Whoniverse, please. That would be amazing. And Pearl Mackie, you've done so well. You've been brilliant. What a story. So I don't like saying goodbye, but we've got. See, he talks when the camera's not on him. What? So it's been incredible. So I probably will have some videos exploring my top moments and best and worst moments of the Moffat era and analysing it. And if you've got any other Who fan friends, then please tell them to subscribe to my channel, because that would be awesome. I want to get my Who channel with more followers and subscribers and more publicity, so that would be amazing. I think that's all I'll say for this video.
So, wow, what a series, what an era. But yeah, we've got Christmas to look forward to. So, I hope you have enjoyed this video and thank you for watching. Yay!